Today's vlog is going to be a little bit different. I want to tell a story about my life, about a time period in my life that was very formative, very important to me, and one where I just grew so much as a person, learned so much. I think it was a time when I was from 21 years old to 24. I'll call that time span the acting years. I remember my senior year in college, I took an acting class, just on a whim. It was an elective. I had like maybe 3 or 4 different elective classes my last senior year. So my senior year was really a breakout year for me to really do things that kind of put me out of my comfort zone. And taking an acting class was one of those things. And what started out as just a whim, just an elective, just to try it out, became something that I became really passionate about. I enjoyed that class so much, and I graduated, and I thought, okay, well, that's it. I mean, you know, that was a class. I spent probably about a year kind of floundering, not really knowing what to do, continuing to work at a grocery store, and not really taking any jump any one way. I was kind of paralyzed. I didn't want to take the wrong leap, so I didn't leap at all. You know, I still was intrigued by acting, but up until that point, I was too nervous to commit. I was too nervous to take that first step and to actually audition for that first time. And I knew that once I did audition for that first time, it would be this boulder that would like start rolling down the mountain and I wouldn't be able to stop it. So I wanted to time it and make sure that I was ready. So my first professional experience on set was as an extra. I was just a simple extra. I worked a couple days on something called From Faith to Freedom. It was an independent film shot in Greensboro. We went to downtown Greensboro at the courthouse, and it was a courtroom scene. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, the camera got on me a few times, and it was just this rush of excitement. I was sitting there like this, and the camera would come up and they say, okay, do something, react this way, or just sit, or just listen. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah, whatever, you know, it's awesome. Like, I was so ready to please. I was so excited. And for the next probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 productions, all I was an extra. You know, I was in a student film with UNC School of the Arts called The Trouble with Proposing, where I was an extra. And I remember looking at the lead actor and I was thinking, wow, what did he have to do to be a part of this? You know, like, how do you even become a lead actor? And he said he auditioned, and I'm like, audition? I wish I could audition.
We gather here today to mourn our brother Marcus Wells.
It wasn't until I started auditioning for some student films in UNC Wilmington and Greensboro and places like that that I actually started to get roles. And I started to get roles really, really fast. Like, I remember UNC Wilmington had casting calls because it was February or so, and all the students who were about to graduate were putting together their final graduate level, you know, productions. And I auditioned for like 3 or 4 of them at once, and I got, I think, all of them.
Bullshit, the phone is broken!
You know that? And I know that. She didn't know that.
So you try and rape her? You think I'd be okay with that?
Lead roles. And all of a sudden I realized my every weekend was called for, and some of the weekdays, and I was driving to Wilmington like 3 times a week, and it was crazy. And none of these were paid gigs, by the way. I haven't gotten paid 1 cent up until now. First big set experience was on We're the Millers. It actually shot in Leland, North Carolina, which is right by Wilmington. It was the carnival scene, and I worked something like 8 or 9 days on that. You know, it was all overnight. You know, you get called at like 6 p.m. and then you don't get out until 6 a.m., like long 12-hour days. And I would just sleep in my car, you know, like I would go to the Walmart parking lot nearby, and I would just sleep in my car, and I'd wake up and I'd do a few things in town, then I'd go right back to set. And it was such a exciting feeling, you know, to put yourself out there, to be going after something that is magical. It felt magical to me. It still feels magical to me. Also, I was on the television show Revolution. I was only on there for 1 episode. I worked like 3 days on it. And you can barely see me. I'm about this big. So with both We're the Millers and with Revolution, I got paid basically minimum wage, essentially.
So what other stuff have you done?
I've done some background acting on Castle and Numbers and CSI So my first paid short film that I was in was called For the Love of Food with the director Cindy Shea, and that was out of UNC Greensboro. That was her master's thesis. It was just a great love story about a guy and a girl who make this connection over very unlikely conditions.
You know, if you hadn't insisted on those ridiculous names and costumes, I mean, hell, I never would have believed this either.
And it was also the time that I felt least self-conscious about my long hair, because my hair kind of grows outward, and actually they loved that. You know, this role called for that. So some of these scenes, actually, my hair is completely crazy. I would shower and just let it air dry, and it would just... Shortly after that, one of the actors that I had worked with before in one of the Wilmington student films suggested that I take an acting class with Tammy Arnold. Tammy Arnold is an acting coach out of Wilmington, North Carolina, and it was like a 4-session thing back, I don't know, was that November, I think, 2012? And she taught me more than I ever would have been able to learn on my own. Now, just one more question. You said Carrie is a liability. Do you think that by sterilizing her, she would become an asset to the state? After I finished the first 4 weeks with her, she said, "Ed, do you have an agent?" And I said, "No, I've just been auditioning for things as I go, but I've never had an agent." She goes, "You need an agent. You need to be able to audition for the things that require an agent. You know, like those movies, those TV shows, commercials are cast by the casting directors, and the casting directors are, you know, in close relationship with the agents. And so then the agents get those roles that the casting directors send out, trickle those down to their actors. The actors submit either video auditions or they go to in person. And then the agents send those auditions, the tapes, back to the casting directors, who then forward that to the directors and that sort of thing, and then the roles are cast. So Tammy Arnold gave me the name of Susan Walters, who was one of the best North Carolina talent agencies, and she still is. You know, she's got the quality over quantity sort of mantra for her roster, and she's got great actors. So I was so honored to even be able to talk to Susan, and for her to sign me on was just mind-blowing. So after signing with my agent, I started auditioning for real projects. You know, these are things that pay $800, $900 a day, you know, some lucrative stuff, and commercials, you know, $3,000 for 1 day of work. I started auditioning left and right. She would give me, I don't know, probably 3 a week, it seemed, some weeks anyway. She'd be sending me to Charlotte to audition for commercials twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, and it's cool. You're a busy guy. I guess you have to be a little selfish with your time. You know, it was getting difficult to handle all this stuff, but I was also enjoying it. I was still working at the grocery store. I was working there, I think, part-time. So, you know, I was still able to have some amount of flexibility. And then my roommate and my friends would help me tape these video auditions so I could send them off to casting directors. And so I could do a lot from my home, but I did have to travel a little bit for these in-person auditions. Eventually, I got an audition request to tape a video audition for something called Live Evil. It's kind of like Dawn of the Dead meets Ghostbusters meets Twilight Zone, and it was my first time around professionals and around actors who are well known, you would recognize them. I think that was really a turning point in my professionalism with acting, because, you know, I all of a sudden felt like I was a part of this. I felt like I actually was included, and I felt like I belonged there. And actually, a little bit of trivia here, this poster is Live Evil. And then this one is actually called Bombshell Bloodbath.
All right, come on, little guy.
Little guy.
Oh, stop, Edward. I can't help I'm an animal lover.
These are test rats, Alexis. I had a thing for you too. They're both kind of like zombie movies. I'm not really big into zombie movies, but what I do appreciate is that they were made well, and that they had a good cast, they had a good crew, and I've stayed friends with people from both. So they're both good memories, and I keep them close all the time. But the highlight of my acting career thus far has been on Under the Dome on CBS. Even though it was a very small role, and I'm on screen for maybe 6-7 seconds. I was not an extra. I had a role. A little bit about that experience. I auditioned for this thing, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks before the actual shoot. I remember I auditioned in my basement, basically. I was alone, no one was with me. I just sent out this video audition to the casting directors, did it, forgot about it, whatever. And then about 2 weeks later, I'm outside playing softball with my friends, and my agent is just blowing up my phone, but my phone is over in the dugout. I don't even hear it. And I come back to it, I have like 15 missed calls from her. I call her back and she goes, "Ed, you got the role. Can you be in Wilmington tomorrow morning at like 6 a.m.? And I was like, oh, whoa, yeah. I mean, yeah. Oh, wait, which role is this? Like, I had completely forgotten about the entire thing. And that's actually what you do as an actor. You don't necessarily hold out for these auditions. You know, you do them, and that almost feels like that's the gig itself. You know, auditioning is like a project. And once you finish the audition, you walk out, you move on. You don't dwell on it. You don't think, oh, I wonder if I got the audition. I'm waiting around the phone for it. No. You just move on to the next thing. If you get the part, then that's just the cherry on top, and you know that's like a happy reward. But it doesn't happen often, so you can't get caught up in that. Well, I had completely forgotten about the audition. I had forgotten about the project, and so I actually had to re-look at my audition tape to see, okay, wait, what did I do? I missed you, Mom. I remember I didn't sleep like a wink that night, the night beforehand. And I just remember thinking, this is awesome. I'm gonna be on a big set. I'm gonna have a $500,000 camera in my face, and I'm going to do this scene that's gonna be seen in front of millions of people on CBS during prime time. So I get there and I'm doing this scene, and I'm doing it just the way that I auditioned, which is proper. You know, you don't change it up unless the director tells you. Well, he walks over to me, and it's Jack Bender, and he's directed a bunch of different, you know, Under the Dome episodes. He's directed Lost, Alias, The Sopranos. I mean, he's got a lot of great credits to his name. And he comes over, he goes, "You're a good actor, but can we get a little less of the lip trembling, a little bit less?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's great, yeah, sure, anything." And inside I'm like, oh man, I was too much. You know, I don't want to be that guy who's like pushing it. But either way, I did it, and then it just took maybe 2 more takes. I left, and I thought, that is just the most amazing thing. I'm like, even though my part was small, I had the experience of a director, a big name director, directing me on set around a professional crew with like crazy cameras for a show that's gonna be seen in front of millions of people. Eventually, my money kind of dried up. I was still working at a grocery store, but I was living in Charlotte in an apartment alone, so my bills had skyrocketed, but I wasn't making enough money to meet my financial needs. UNCP's position opened up and I applied for it. And I got it, and I've been working there ever since, and I've kind of had to let acting go, you know, on the back burner for the time being. And even though I've been able to do some projects here and there, I've never been able to get on a big set since 2013. I've never been able to be a part of that and audition for big casting directors and big productions. So, I mean, that sucks, but you know, it's one of those things like, if I hadn't gotten UNCP's job, I don't know, I'd probably still be in Charlotte. I also don't know how my financial situation would be. You know, my video production business would be about, I don't know, 5th as good as it is now. I would still have school bills, that's for sure. I just paid those off recently. I've met so many people and worked with so many people professionally at UNCP and with my small business that it's really primed me for, if I ever go back to acting, to feel a little more like that's my element, you know, to operate a little bit more professionally in an environment that's collaborative. And so, you know, it's not like looking back on, those were the good old days, they'll never come again. I'm young still, and I'm looking forward to getting back into acting sometime in the future. Thank you for listening, for those who have made it through to the end. If you are either interested in acting or you are an actor and you're just trying to like make it to the next level, I hope I at least was able to provide some insight into what that process looked like for me. So, you know, that's it. And if you like this, you know, give me a comment. Just let me know what you think. I mean, this is all new to me too. This vlog is new. If you have a thought, if you have a suggestion, if you just appreciate what I'm doing, give me a comment. I want to hear from you guys. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of views coming up on these videos, but I know I do have some. And so you guys are watching, and if you made it through to the end, send me a comment. And of course, if you comment, I'll reward that by giving you a reply. So thank you very much for listening, and that's it. Take care.